You read the title. The absolute most important thing you need to know if you want to jump higher is to perfect your jumping technique. If you have a bad jump technique and you improve on that aspect, you can see your vertical increase by inches right away. Now that you know what will increase your vertical, let's talk about how. So there are 4 different types of jump approaches that people fall under. Right left, left right, which are 2-foot approaches, and left foot and right foot jumps, which are 1-step approaches. Depending on if you're a 2-foot jumper or a 1-foot jumper will determine what you need to know to perfect your technique. Don't know what approach fits you the best? It's really simple to find out. It's whatever approach comes natural to you. A test you could do is go up to a basketball court and do a run-up vertical jump approach to touch the rim. Whatever approach you subconsciously do will determine your approach. Now that you know what approach you are, let's see what makes up good jump mechanics. For this video, I'm going to be talking mainly about the 2-step approach for all my 2-foot jumpers out there. If you're a 1-foot jumper, I'm sorry. I'm not the most experienced when jumping off of 1 foot, but you might as well stick around because you can gain some tips off of this video, because a lot of the things that you would do with a 2-foot jump correlates with a 1-foot jump. Anyways, let's get into it. I'll be using myself as an example since I'm a 2-foot jumper with what I would say a pretty good form. You don't want to have choppy steps leading up to your jump like this. You want to have a smooth transition with decently long strides leading up to your last 2 steps, building speed throughout the run to develop horizontal momentum and transferring it into vertical momentum. Doing stutter steps will kill your momentum and won't create anything. This applies to both 1-foot and 2-foot jumpers. Now this is where it gets a bit different between the 2 jump techniques. The penultimate step. This step is probably the most important thing you need to master for a good jump. For 2-foot jumpers, it's your second to last step. This really long step is your penultimate step, and what you want out of this step is a really long stride with your back leg almost straight. You're kind of jumping into it, but instead you're jumping horizontal to create more momentum. You're also going to want to swing your arms back at the same time as you step your penultimate. So you're bringing your arms all the way back at the same time you're stepping into that penultimate step. You kind of want to over exaggerate that arm swing when you bring it back, because that's what's going to create a lot of upwards momentum when you swing it back up. Make sure you time your arm swing at the same time as your penultimate step so your jump mechanics are more fluid. Now that we got your penultimate step down, let's not forget about the block foot, which is what's going to transfer your momentum from horizontal to vertical. So what's the block foot? The block foot is your last step after the penultimate. You want to step that block foot as fast as possible after the penultimate so that they're almost stepping down at the same time, but not exactly at the same time. Making those last 2 steps super fast will ensure that you're not losing any of that momentum that you built up with the run up and the penultimate. When you land your block foot, you're going to want it to be slightly turned like this. If it was pointing in the same direction as your penultimate, then you would keep flying forward instead of up. So that turn to block step is going to be the reason for your body to be flying up instead of forward. You also don't want your block foot to be on the ground for too long. As soon as you step that block foot on the ground, you want to jump up as fast as possible, because the longer that block foot is on the ground, the more momentum you're losing. Now that we know what makes up a good jump, let's talk about how to practice them. You could just do multiple run-up jumps, but if you have poor mechanics and you keep practicing with those poor mechanics, then your body's going to be accustomed to jumping with poor technique. Instead, try these out. I'm just going to make a disclaimer that these are directly from Isaiah Rivera's video. Isaiah has a video on his YouTube channel where he talks about how to perfect your jump technique and certain steps to follow to do it. I just wanted to shed some light on them because they help me personally with my jump technique. So props to you, Isaiah. Just letting you guys know that these are old clips of me trying to dunk on 8.6, so my form and my vertical in these vids were pretty bad. If you have a hoop that can be lowered, then this helps a lot, but if you don't, that's totally fine as well. Start out under a hoop and have your block foot back like this. For right-left jumpers, your left foot should be back, and for left-right jumpers, your right foot should be back. Now you're going to step forward with that block foot and jump up as high as possible, as fast as possible. This is going to help with your block foot and transferring energy. For your block foot, you want to land on the ball of your foot. This way, it's going to make sure that you're jumping as fast as possible. You should do this with both approaches so there are no imbalances in you. I would say 5 sets for 3 reps for each approach is a good stepping stone. Once you're comfortable with the block foot, we're going to do some reps of penultimate step jumps. Standing still with your preferred penultimate step back, you're going to bring it forward and jump into that penultimate while also landing that block foot and jumping as high as possible. For right-left jumpers, your right leg is going to be back, and left-right jumpers, your left leg is going to be back. Some cues you want to know is that you want to push into that penultimate, making it as long as possible. So make sure the distance between you and the rim is a good amount. Your back leg should be almost straight like this, and the angle between your shin and the ground should be relatively small. Again, 5 sets by 3 reps on each approach. Then we start adding steps from there, and eventually leading up to a full approach. So add 1 step before the penultimate step, then 2 steps before the penultimate step, and so forth. Personally, I need 3 steps before my penultimate to maximize my jump, so that makes 5 steps in total. So after you've mastered the penultimate step, we're going to do these 1 step to the penultimate, the 2 step to the penultimate, and the 3 step to the penultimate, slowly building up to that full approach. If you feel like you're a speed jumper, or you need more room and more steps to build up speed to jump your highest, then keep adding more steps. This is all from Isaiah's video. I just thought it would be a good idea to bring this back to today for any of you who are struggling with their approach. I did this for about a month or two and saw big improvements in my technique. So thank you to Isaiah. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I try my best to answer every comment on YouTube, so let me know.